Good morning and good evening to everyone. I think somewhere else in the different part of the world may have the morning, but here in the United States, we are going to have the evening time. So good morning to you and good evening to you all. And I think my lecture would be approaching to almost conclusion as I begin the COVID-19 series. This is the 13. So I'm planning to visit the Philippines soon, so that visitation may hinder to continue. So perhaps I have to wrap up the all kind of the different topics and themes as soon as possible. I don't know how many lessons I may deliver, but perhaps one or two more that I may be finish up all my lectures. So tonight, I'm going to give one of the very important topics that you might know, and some of you also may have some concept on it. Today, the topic is New World Order. So, New World Order is a very, known, very well-known concept. So, any of you can share with us that what is the New Order is? Anybody can share with us that meaning of the New World Order? Caleb? Yeah, why don't you use the microphone so that someone can hear? Yes.
A New World Order is the bringing together of a religion, economy, government, and society to in the end times to bring it all under the Illuminati and the beast and going closer into the one world that is described under Satan in Revelation.
Yeah, it's a pretty much precise and very wonderful definitions you made it. And I wonder that some of us may have this concept, but some of the irony and paradox on the terminology that we use, the New World Order, is not new. This is a very old concept. It's much more than 200 years old. So it has never been new. Actually, it is a very old concept. The second one, not only this is the old concept, but also this is the very comprehensive term, rather than one part. I think the Caleb mentions this is not just about the economic. This is not just meaning to the political sphere. This is not just meaning to the religious sphere, but it is overarching sphere of all different at the area and aspect of the lives in the humanity. So this one is a very comprehensive concept rather than one geopolitical area of the meaning. So New World Order is not written in the Bible. But when it comes to New World Order, always it is closely related to the biblical prophecy. No biblical word can found so similar the lordship of the Antichrist when it comes to New World Order. It's similar to the Trinity. The Bible, there is no word for Trinity in the Bible. But we believe in Trinity. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. The same things when it comes to the power of the satanic kingdom. And it is actually integrated parts of the geopolitics, economics, and social cabal networks and religious one body, overarching all different kind of religious sectors and the areas of the beliefs and system. Hence, we believe New World Order is not the new concept. This is very old. But the question arises, how old is this? It's more than 200 years old. And how is this working in the global village? I think this is the reason we are going to study today. So, second thing is about the understanding of New Order from the perspective of biblical prophecies. I think this is more important because the Bible prophesies about the coming satanic power, which integrated the geopolitics and economics and the all kind of the governorship, which is called the Antichrist in the power of the beast. So in this part, who will really do this? We know the Bible. We know the prophecies from the prophet Daniel. We know the word of the Lord from the prophet Ezekiel. We know the prophecy from the book of Revelation. But in fact, is it real in our world? I think that could be a question for us to understand and truly see the prophecy come to realize when we really discern the things happening in our world. For that matter, I think you and I need to examine the meaning of New World Order. What is New World Order? So let me begin to start to share the PowerPoint presentation. Before I let me give you one of my papers. So I don't know that some of you may know, I wrote one of the articles on the Christian belief, Christian biblical view of the COVID-19. This one has 18 areas of my shortened version of the articles about the COVID-19. So the COVID-19, the number one, the changes COVID-19 brings to humanity and healthcare system, and the changes COVID-19 brings to human life, and the changes COVID-19 brings to the church, and the lessons learned by the Christians from historical responses to pandemics, the three greatest pandemics occurring in the history of the world, how the Christian responses changed the world. And the other one is the main historical problems the church in dealing with the Black Death in the Middle Ages. And the Martin Luther's theological position on the epidemics. And the other one is actually here is the biblical definition of the epidemics and disasters and plagues. And the biblical example of the plagues, epidemics, and the pestilence, God's purpose for the epidemics and plagues. And the last, another one is treating epidemics and plagues in the Bible. That's the 11th. And 12, 13, 14, 15, some more likely how we see in connection to the book of Revelation and judgment of the Lord. And then is COVID-19 a judgment from God? And then the assessments to the United Nations movements. So these are actually one of the comprehensive report on COVID-19. So if you need this English article, just let me know. Otherwise, Pastor Joshua Park also will give. If you give us the email, whatever the contact, and then I will give this article so that you can have this article on the comprehensive report on the COVID-19. Now, I'm going to give this my lecture today. I hope that you may be able to see this COVID-19 series. So let me begin with the topic today. What is the New World Order? So before I begin my lectures, I'm going to give some of the beautiful books that I want to introduce you. The James Musker, he wrote one of the very prominent book on the New World Religion and Beliefs of the Elite. But mostly this is New World Order. It's a very comprehensive book. And this is also the former MI6, the secret agents, one of the top guy in the whole world. His name is Dr. John Coleman. In my lecture, I introduced him to you. So his book is Conspirators' Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300. So this is about Club of Rome and others. And others, I think there are two very important books, if I may introduce to you. It's actually two books. So over here, one is the very concise one. This is the Michael Thomas Hayes. The title of this book is Rise of the New World Order and the Awakening. So in fact, the New Age movements, New World Order movements, and also some of the occult movements call it the awakening when they indicate New World Order movements. So they more likely recognize these movements not as comprehensive, but also as very religious and spiritual elements. Therefore, they call it the awakening. So, and this is the one they said, the New Order is the awakening to the global village. And another one is the same author, the Michael Thomas Hayes, The Rise of the New World Order. So this is the calling of man. And this is more likely very comprehensive rather than the executive one. So if you would like to read this, probably find that out in the Amazon. And let me give you also this is also very good for the introductions for those who want to know the basic principle of the study on the New World Order by the Tavistock Institute. So we call Tavistock Institute Social Engineering the Masses. And they're very famous experts. Many of you know this name. He is one of the top guy who wrote all kind of secret society movements. So his name is Estlin. So this is one of the very important book. And also this is the this is we call it classic, the classic of New World Order research. So his name is H.G. Wells. So the New World Order, very concise one, mostly the quotation from the very famous one, Winston Churchill, the George W. Bush, and David Rockefeller, those guys. So you can find out so many quotations from what the famous people say. And also this is the beginning of the CIA and also secret society in the governmental area. So we call the devils the checkboards. The devil's not checkboard, chessboard. So this is David Talbot, and very important. There are a lot of the testimonies from the insiders. So I hope you find some of the very meaningful one, but I didn't bring all those books, but key books here in order for you to understand. So let me begin. What is New World Order? So I want to give you first the contents, what the contents that I'm going to give tonight. So before we begin, shall we read our Bible first? Daniel chapter 2, verses 40 to 43. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. As iron breaks things to pieces, it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw that the feet and toe was partly baked clay, partly of iron. So this will be a divided kingdom. It will have some of the strengths of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As a toe were partly iron, partly clay, so this kingdom will partly strong, partly brittle. So I think, the prophet Daniel saw one of the giant status on the wilderness, and indicating that the four empires in history before the Roman Empire, the Babylonian, Median Persian, and Greek Empire, the finally Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire indicate by two legs. And then there are 10 toes. The 10 toes are made by the clays and iron, mixed with the iron and clay. So 10 toes indicating 10 nations. So the 10 nations will be actually unified power at the end of the world. So, and then the stone from the air will come in and crush it. So this is what the Messiah's kingdom will come in, and finally the kingdom of Satan will be crushed into pieces. So this is the prophecy. Many of you know this story first. And I want to know today how this Bible prophecy is closely interrelated to the New World Order. So this is very important for everyone today. So the last verse is saying that and just as you saw the iron mixed with the baked clay, so the people will be a mixture, will not remain united any more than iron mixed with the clay. So today the content will be around 14. The first one is what is New World Order, so the definition and terminology of the New World Order. And secondly, I want to give, very briefly, I'm not going to do everything in detail, but probably very briefly, the conspiracy. So some of you understand the New World Order is one of the conspiracy theories. So, and many of you know that the cryptocracies. So this cryptocracy is the shadow governments, So what is the actually real relationship of the shadow government to the current governments when it comes to United States, when it comes to United Kingdom, when it comes to the EU, when it comes to United Nations? And the number 4, I'm going to give also some of the relationship between the utopian society and also New World Order. And I think the number 5 is United Nations, briefly. I'm not going to give any detail because there are a lot to be dealt with. And number 6 is deep state. Today, more likely people talking about always deep state. So what is deep state? And so the deep state, and then, the 7th. So I want to give you also the great plan of New World Order. And the next one, I'm going to deal with the goals of the great plan. And then number 9, the New Order plots. There are different kinds of tools and weapons and branches and the agencies. And then the ideologies such as like communism, socialism, capitalism. So all those kind of political and philosophical ideologies. And the number 11 was the New World Order agencies, the political roundtable, economic roundtable, religious roundtable, spiritual roundtable. And there are some kind of think tanks and others. So what are those interrelated ones when it comes to one world governments as the Antichrist is going to rule? So number 12, I'm going to give you a lecture tonight is the global convergence. What is truly today converging when everything come together, everything putting together in unity. So the last one will be the conclusion. And then I'm going to have a little more time if someone may give question and answer. So these are the ones tonight I'm going to give my lecture. I guess perhaps 90 minutes. So that's, my best guess, but if I may, a little delay, so don't get angry at me, but I hope to, do my best. Because my slides, as I counted it, I can do that 90 minutes and within 90-minute perimeter. So let me begin my lecture tonight. What is the New World Order? So let me read first for you, for everyone begin to thinking what the New World Order is. The secretive power elite with a globalist agenda is conspiring to eventually rule the world through an authoritarian world government which will replace the sovereign nation state and an all-encompassing propaganda whose ideology hails the establishments of the New World Order as the culmination of history's progress. This one may give us more thinking. Not simply one world government, one world economy, one world currency, one world religion, one world system, one world unified nations, but not only for that, there are some of the key points. Secretive power elite will govern. The secretive power elite. Those who are not seen in the public for a long time, those who are not known in the public area. However, they are the really one behind of the stage and manipulate the masses. And they are the one has power of financial, economic, the political, and also administrative networks. We call the cabal networks. So this secretive power of the elites, controlling over the governments, economy, nations, religions, and sort of all kinds of spheres, the societal area. And then they will replace Soviet nationhood, which means United States, United Kingdom, and Germany, such as all, sovereign states in the whole world, more than 200 countries in the world. So they want to unify into one system with what? The ideology, the principle they created, the philosophy they made. And the ideology, they really want to lure people. And they say that this is the best way the people to live in this system for the welfare of the well-being. in order for us to live in the peace rather than in violence. They call it New World Order because this is actually the culminating the evil things in history, the prejudice and racisms and some cases injustices and the discriminations, all sort of those unequal things will be culminated in the history of the world as New World Order is established in our days. Hence, we know many of us thinking that New World Order probably is a conspiracy theory, right? Because we think that someone made it gossip because someone is thinking that this is kind of idea and the principle, but it may not be real thing. It may not be the so-called the substantial to prove they exist. So the conspiracy theory is the one way actually give idea of the questioning on this all kind of New World Order, the principle and philosophy and existences. So the conspiracy theory is an explanation for an event or situation that evokes a conspiracy by sinister. So sinister means very evil and very bad and very gloomy, dark. And the powerful groups often political in motivation when other explanations are more probable. So the conspiracy theory is actually to explain some events or some situations, someone really conspire, make the trap by not good will, but bad will. Not good purpose, but mostly evil purpose. In political, in motivation, and some cases social, religious, and spiritual in motivations. Hence, the conspiracy theory in Oxford English Dictionary defines that theory that an event or phenomenon occurs as a result of conspiracy between interested party, especially a belief that some covert but influential agencies, typically political in motivation and offensive in intent, is responsible for an unexplained event. So this one is very dictionary definition. But if I want to say what is a conspiracy theory? Okay, it could be World War First, World War II. Someone said this is conspired by some of the conspirators. And then someone said, oh, this is a very natural process because of the assassination of the crown prince of the Habsburg family. And it depends on how you see it. And in some cases like the Waterloo Warfare, some cases French Revolution, some cases like the Bolshevik revolutions. There are many ways to explain, but on one side of the people say that this is a very natural process historically. It may happen not by intention, or not by intended purpose of someone, but by the natural process of someone. So, and the other one, no, someone mastermind it, someone really plan it, someone make purpose, someone really do it, and someone planned it, someone really support it, someone also lobbying and programmed and sire the people to that party. So between two, the conspiracy theory and the other one is not conspiracy theory, how you see the New World Order. Let us examine New World Order. If this is just one of the conspiracy theories, and we should not take the one, but let us examine if this is truly a real thing. We have to understand this could be a very important thing in our lives. Brothers and sisters, so let me give this another one. So as I said, the cryptocracy. The cryptocracy crypto means sometimes fake, sometimes shade. It is not real. It's just behind of something. It's an unseen thing. This government, this reign, sometimes rulership, the power of the administration in the government area. It's not seen. So these shadow governments is more powerful than actual governments. So sometimes we have to understand what is the real one. We see the White House there. But if there is someone the greater than the power who is controllable than the White House, who is this? If it is not one, we have to examine it. The same thing to the Vatican. When we see the Pope is the one of the vicar, so to say, according to the Catholicism, represented by Christ to the earth. But someone said, no, the Pope is not the number one, but behind of him there is the greater than him. So, this is very important one as far as the cryptocracy is concerned. So let me read. This is one of the very important one in our praise. The shadow governments, the cryptocracy, the secret governments or invisible government is a family of conspiracy theories based on the notion that real and actual political power resides not with publicly elected representatives. Elected representatives like legislator, senator, the member of the parliament in Britain, some cases assemblyman in Korea, some cases like congressmen. But they are not elected. They are not elected. But the conspiracy theory based on the notion that real actual political power resides not with publicly elected representatives, but with a private individual. Very private individuals who are exercising power behind the scene, behind the Vatican, behind the White House, behind the all kind of crown court, beyond the scrutiny of the democratic institutions. According to this belief, the officially elected government is the so-called subservient. They are not actually superior, they are subservient to the shadow governments, which is the true executive power. So somehow the crown king, sometimes, the queen and king and an emperor, the president and the prime minister, and some of the, the executive head and chief, and not the one who controlled the power, but he was controlled by someone. Because this one is behind the scene, but controlling the power of all, because he is actually manipulating the perfect governments, because he is in control over the society by his position is cryptocracy. So another one, if I may, indicate in relations to the New World Order, is to be the utopian society. They say that if you want to create this society, it could be a utopian society. So they say that we want to have the biblical society when it comes to the communism, because the book of Acts chapter 2 is the beginning of the communal life. They call it communism, because they share together in common, and they sold out the properties and their inheritance, and they share all together. No one is hungry in the midst of any kind of troubles and crisis. So they say that this communism would be the utopian society for everyone. And the other one is Mao Revolution in China, the Chinese communism, CCP. And someone said in Cambodia, Pol Pot, because eliminating the bourgeois, the elite, and the landlord and rich man in the society, so that all the masses, such as factory workers, some cases like the ordinary people and peasant, they are the one actually have they can live in the equality. Other one is Third Reich. The Third Reich means the Third Empire of the German kingdom, the Adolf Hitler. And he also mentioned that he is going to create the utopian society. So, United Nations is also one of the idea that the New World Order is actually indicating that the current world we are living in will be unified in one world governments and one world leader and one world economy and one world transaction system and in one world governmental body. So it is the system of the nationalist individualism that has to go. We are living in the end of the sovereign state in the great struggle to evoke a westernized world socialism. Contemporary governments may vanish and will die protesting against it. This is the one who funded to make the first time the United Nations out of the League of Nations. This person is to actually provide the buildings, everything, no receiving any payments. His name is Rockefeller. David Rockefeller, actually speaking at the United Nations business meeting in 14 September 1994, he said that United Nations is actually, the end of the sovereign state, another culminating the power of the existing governments in order to have the one unified government system in the whole world. And then it is the way that the people living in not to have any kind of divisions geopolitically or religiously, some cases economically. So he said another one is, this is the same business conference. He said that we are on the verge of the global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis. We need a crisis. But he explained the crisis such as war, sometimes pandemic, sometimes disaster, sometimes turmoil, all over global village, violences and the strikes and demonstration. And he said that all we need is the right major crisis and the nation will accept the new world order. So United Nations is actually established in order to be a place of the new world order. Rockefeller Foundation funded, and they actually programmed it. And they want to connect all the nations around the world to be a part of the new world order. And that is the role. That is, we see the so many programs. We know the Agenda 21, Sustainable Development Project, and all of the action plans they made it, and also the UN Agenda 201. And nowadays they are heading up the 2050, but they say that 2030 because 20 years plan. So all those are one of the idea that we want to build up the new world order according to all the programs and developments what United Nations made it. So brethren, there are some of the components of the cryptocracy. The shadow governments is unseen, yet their programs are working. We are not sure who is the head of this program, but some others. But actually, all of the engines and programs and the ideas are actually executing in our world. The number one, they control over by the central banks. They have think tank and they have secret society like Jesuit and Illuminati and Club of Rome and the Bohemian Grove and CFR, and they have all kinds of power engines. They have Freemasons, they have the organized Jury, and they have a lot of Jury community, and they have the religious power of the Jesuit, the Society of Jesus in the Roman Catholic Church. They have intelligence agents, MI6 in Britain, CIA in the United States. They have also Mossad in Israel. They have all connected power in the secret agencies around the world. And they have also religious power from Vatican in Rome. And they have also moneyed interests because actually they got some of the profit gaining. And they are not doing it like as humanitarian, but actually they gain a lot of profit, yes. And they are actually called globalist elites. They are called globalist elites. And then another one, if I may say, is actually here supranational organizations. They want to go beyond the border. They want to go beyond the nationality. They want to go beyond of any kind of ethnic enclaves. But they want to go more. So this is more likely ultra or supranational organizations and networks. So hence, what do they have the purpose when they want to create this system all united, religiously, systematically, politically, and spiritually, and some cases socially? Let me give you. The cryptocracy has complete control over the economy and almost control already over the political sphere. The political, economic, and then later on, one more part is religious. So the conspiracy is not conspiracy when this is proven. And then when kleptocracy is actually indicating someone and has power already control over, it is no longer kleptocracy. This is the real power. So another one is the deep state. Nowadays, so many people talk about deep states. The deep state means like, the one government in the United States, one government in Britain, one government in Germany, probably. More than the German federal government, some government is controlling over the society in Germany. So what is the meaning of the deep states? So let's coming into the case in the United States. In the United States, the deep state is the conspiracy theory which suggests the collusion, number one is collusion, and the cronyism exists within the U.S. political system and constitutes hidden governments within the legitimately elected governments. So this is the deep state. In fact, we have elected President Donald Trump, but somehow in deep state, they are not elected. They are not actually our elected representative. They are not actually, seen as a Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, Secretary of something, Treasury. But they are not seen there. But their power is more than that. So enhance that, the system actually, they were able to have the power to control over the legitimate governments more than, what they are not seen. Brethren, so this one of the exposure came out of the one of the prominent guy. This is the Mike Lofgren. Mike Lofgren wrote this book, so-called The Deep State. So this is one of the 5 million selling book. 5 million selling book. So that's why before he said that not no one, but very few people talk about deep state. But when this book is produced and printed out, and then so many people talk about always deep states. The title itself is the deep states. And then if you see the top subtitle, just take a look on it. The fall of the Constitution and the rise of the shadow government. He said that even if the president is elected in the United States, he's a puppet. Even if some of the Secretary of Defense and States, they are playing their role, but they are not more powerful than the people behind of them. He called it deep states. Deep states. Someone is controlling. Someone is, it's like, do you remember the Nathan Rothschild? So I don't care who will be the prime minister in the United Kingdom. I don't care who will be the king or queen in the United Kingdom, but I care how to control over money. He said that. If I do the control over money, I can control over the government. I can control over the king and queen or any area of the governorship. The same thing happening in the United States. Why? Someone has power. It's not just in the manipulating. If you want to manipulate someone, you have to have power. If you manipulate someone in ideology, you need the media. If you want to manipulating in the entertainment industry, you have to have film industry or otherwise Hollywood industry. If you want to manipulate it in education, you have the power of the educational system. If you want to manipulate the church members, you have to have unified power of the liberal theology or the organizational power. If you want to manipulate the masses over their economic system, you have to control over the banking system in order to have loan and lending and gaining the interest. So therefore, one who has power is not actually political power. One who has power is the power of money. If you have the power of money, this giving them to access into every area, because money can control over politics, money can control over every single individual life, and the money can control over the social life, the money can control over the educational system. So he said here, actually, the Lofgren says that there is a hybrid. He said the hybrid association of the elements of the governments and part of the top-level finance. He said the top-level finance and industry that is effectively able to govern the United States. the top finance people, top finance and industry area people can effectively govern the United States without reference to consent. They don't need agreement. They don't need your consent. Without what? The reference to the consent of the government as expressed through a formal political process. Or consider the deep state to encompass the corruptions, the prevalence among the politicians and civil servants. This is a very important one because Mike says that, when he was actually in the public office. He was involved in the legislation in the White House, and he involved all those things in the United States in the political area, administrative area. When he was able to observe and experience, and he thought that the president is a puppet, and all other people are seen in the public are not a powerful man, but one who controls money is more powerful than anyone in the United States. But they are belonging to the deep state. Actually, they are masterminded, the deep state. Deep state in other countries, not only in the United States, this is the case, what Mike says, but there are other cases, like Turkey. There are other cases, So let me read it for you. The term, the deep state, was originally coined to refer to a relatively invisible state apparatus in Turkey. And that's actually the first time appeared. And it is meaning the composed of the high-level elements within the intelligence services, military, security, judiciary, organized crime, like human trafficking and drug dealing. And similar, the alleged networks in other countries, including Egypt, Ukraine, Spain, Colombia, Italy, Israel, and many others. So deep state means most of the country in the world has that power. So the United States has deep states, but it's not overarching all of the world, but mostly United States. But when it comes to UK, when it comes to France and Spain and Germany and Egypt and Ukraine, Japan has. So who will be able to, not who will be, who are the one actually control in this power? We have to raise the question. Who made this deep state? Who control over the Japanese society? Who actually rule over in Korean society? Who is the one actually ruling in the American society? We have to raise this question, brethren. So they call it New World Order. It's not only the shadow governments, but also it is a powerhouse. Why is it a powerhouse? Because of their plan. It is not a mean plan they made. It is, they call it great plan. Big plan. It's not small scale, it's a global. It's worldwide. They call it great plan. The primary control of the world central banking institution first. BIS, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, national central banking in its country. So these are the one they have power access to each area of the governmental and social and educational. Secondly, control of the governments, and then later on the United Nations and the secret society. They have planned. So we call the tripartite collaboration. The first one is so-called, they have money power. Number two, they have the political and governmental power. And number three, they have their secret agencies. So they were able to work in closely together in this area. So triology. So the goals of the great plans are here as follows. With number one is called the pantheism and atheism. And many of us remembering when you travel over in Israel, that a lot of us remembering that the state of Israel is the very Jewish nation. But when you go over there, you will see great amounts of diversity in the population. There is ultra Orthodox people. There are Hasidim people there. There are very conservative Jewish believers. There are also the moderate, and there are also some cases liberal. But they are not all. There are secularists. There are so-called atheist Jews. Atheist means they do not believe in God. But strikingly, they are secularist Jews. And also there are some so-called pantheists. They believe in many gods. Jupiter, Hera, Diana. They believe in God and goddess. Atheism, they don't believe. So we call higher society belong to pantheism in this secular society. And lower class actually believe in an atheism. So they have higher and lower ranks. So the second one is the communism and socialism. They call it the utopian society as the socialistic authoritarian society they want to create so that everyone else can have the equality and justice. And other one is, they really want to see the church should be destroyed. The goal of this great plan is to destroy the true church of Jesus Christ in the whole world. Whether you are aware or not, but their agenda is to manipulate all the program, and their goal is to destroy the church of Jesus Christ. And that's why they never stop to integrate their religious power in order to destroy the evangelical believers in the whole world. And this great plan has some of the powerhouses. The number one is Freemasonry. And of course, they call it the Freemasonry, the great plan, the great architect of the universe. They call it amongst the pantheon, means the deity of many gods and goddesses. They call it Gatu. This Gatu is the God of the universe. It's Almighty, they call it, which is their God, would eventually establish the kingdom of their God on us. Who is their God? They call it this God. The God of the universe is Lucifer, the morning star. So therefore, they have political power. The Bilderberg Bohemian Group. And they have economic and business power, trilateral. And they want to connect it all together in the powerhouse. So they want to create it one world religion. And then the UN agenda is creating very environmental friendly programs such as the climate change, and other one is Agenda 21. Illuminati has also plot, but I'm not going to say the Illuminati is a total one, only the whole part of it, but Illuminati together, there are others many well. Because, the plot is made, it's different era. 260 years ago, it was created, but every society changed. So as the society is changed and transformed into new being, and they recreated another society of their, cabal networks. Therefore, Illuminati is the beginner. But however, there are others like Club of Rome, Bohemian Group, Trilateral, and the Council on the Foreign Relations. In some cases, all different kind of secret societies they created. So we call they are still evolving. So no one knows in 2030, 2040, 2050 what kind of society will be born again. But however, they will continually make some of the systems newly, and they really modified and adapt, and in some cases they newly recreated in the occult area, in religious area, and ideology area, some cases political area, geopolitical area. So this is one of the examples how they began first time when they created the Illuminati plot. So this is one example, and then continually they evolved into new beings. October in 1783, Joseph Schneider. Schneider is a very important person, like Adam Weishaupt, and he made the blueprint of the Illuminati plot. Because I told you that, like, the whole world, how we do. And they began from the one kingdom, so-called Bayern, Bavaria, in Germany. I called you the former Holy Roman Empire. So in the state of the Bavaria, they want to upside down the governments and they want to create a new world order. This is the beginning. So I just want to give the beginning so that we may understand what's happening today. So he made the blueprints of the Illuminati plot. And then he presented his plan to the Bavarian Duchess, the ruler, the ruler, the Duchess Maria Anna, the wife of Dutch. The wife, the Duchess Maria Anna, gave this plan to her husband. So his name is Karl Deodoro Delberg. He got angry because he's the elector of the Palatine of the Bavaria. I told you that there are 6 people available to choose and elect the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. Bavaria is one of the electorate because he has power to choose the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. So this is one of the powerful state house. So Duke, the Karl Theodor Dalberg, was very angry at this plot. And then, he commanded them in prison. So many of them evacuated and escaped from this, they actually pursue. And then some of them are actually in prisons. And this is the first time a real plan, politically, socially, and ideologically, taking their actions against the Bavarian government. And then the Bavarian governments give the comprehensive report, the Illuminati, what they made. This is the first time Illuminati report in the whole world. That's why we say all the time, this is conspiracy. We say that Illuminati is like fog. Illuminati is like illusion. Illuminati is like man-made story. But in its inception, they are real. They made a rebellion. They made a team. They have trained people. They have manpower. They have also financial power. They have also very intelligent power. They have the professors working together. Not only one, so many professors. Adam Weishaupt together, Ingolstadt University. And they have so many philosophers working together. And actually they working, but their plot was exposed. And then what happened? Illuminati and Freemasonry shut down in the Bavarian state from March 2nd in 1785. So no one can come into the land of the Bavaria because of the Illuminati or Freemason. If you are a member of them, you will not be able to enter their kingdom. Why? Because this is a rebellion. They call it treason. And what happened? They gathered together in other places, such as like Bremen. Some cases they met together in different secret places. And they discussed what is the reasons of the failure to turn down the Bavarian governments in their plot. And they realized 2 problems. Number 1, I think we made a beautiful plan. They say the great plan to upside down the governments. This plan is good, but we are lack of 2 things. Number 1, we are lack of supernatural power. Another one, they say spiritual power. Real power. Bavarian government has political power. But what is more powerful than the political power? They try to seek the more powerful than the Bavarian governments. That is spiritual power. Number 2, they try to make the revolutionist not only to be intimidated by the political power, but one who dare their lives, not to be afraid even in the midst of threatening. So one who can really create violence, one who can really create They're like the Bizerk trial against the governments. That's why Bolshevik revolutions, 3 wars in Italy, and French revolutions, and the Civil War in the United States, and World War I and World War II, all they really created and comprehensively by funding of the money from the Rothschild and also others, the pogroms and silencing, and in some cases training key people. So one of the things you have to looking at is the spiritual power. And they want to find out more powerful than the barbarian governments. And they notice that the barbarian government is Christian kingdom. So what they say that, we don't like the Christian kingdom. So they find in the Bible, number one rebellion against God made by wives of the Solomon. It's actually Molech. The Ammonites worship the Molech. And Tammuz, they give the infant sacrifice. So they give the god of the Molech. And they want to worship the wall. And then what happened? They give the sacrifice of the infant baby to their gods. And they want to have the access into the supernatural power. And so they want to create the Luciferian worship in their order after failure of the turning down the governments of the Barbaria. And there is a reason when you see all kinds of agencies all around the world, the Club of Rome, the Bohemian Groves, and some cases like the Bilderberg Councils, and in case the Trilateral Commissions, and all those, you see the one common thing. They have some of the secret knowledge and power by supernatural experience. Like a Jesuit, the Society of Jesus in the Roman Catholic Church. They want to experience supernatural power. This supernatural power on high is to be believed more powerful than the political power in the current era. And they want to access that power. Number 2, they really want to have. This power is not only enhancing their political agenda, but also to be a one unified government. And that is the reason they are not only trying to unify many principalities and kingdoms in Europe, but also around the world, in order to rule over and give worship unto the highest one. They are worshiping Molech. They are worshiping Lucifer. They are worshiping in different gods and goddesses. That's why I told you, not the monolithic religion. It is a pantheistic religion. Many gods. Many gods. The Barbarian Court of Inquiry on September 9, 1785. I'm not saying about conspiracy. This is no longer conspiracy. All of these are historical events. Millions of historical proof were made. They are only they are not seen in our eyes, but they are real. They're tracked and they all kind of the plot were made, but it was not known. So, brethren, the professors, the Kosendi, Grunberger, the Leonard, 3 professors gave the report. And then when the governments of the Barbaria report about the Illuminati, and they say that they have 6 principles or 6 philosophy, whatever it is called, the philosophy of principle. Number 1, Illuminati try to abolish, that the Illuminati try to have the destroy another one, abolition of monarchy or existing all governments in the world. They don't want to see the authority. They want to recreate the new governments. That's the number 1. Number 2, abolition of the private property. So this is like, they want to have all of the property under their ownership, so that the peasant, the people, and the kinsmen would be what? Debtor. They call massive eater. like ants. So we have a lot of debts. We are very simple eater in their eyes. And then number 3 is abolition of the inheritance. Number 4, abolition of the patriotism. If you love your country, like Germany, France, and Spain, and UK, and America, and some cases like Japan and China and Korea, you cannot unify into the new world. It's one unified world. So they hate the patriotism. So one of the strongest resisting country is actually United States when they try to make this new establishment. United States has long history. And every moment and every time when they plot, when they pogrom, and actually United States resisted it. But eventually in 1913, US was subdued to their plot. Number 5, abolition of the family. This one including like the traditional maternal value, so-called marriage. Therefore, gender issue included. And also family relationship between children and parents. They destroy the family system of parents and children. Therefore, they call it New Age movement. Number 6 is the abolition of the old religion. I told you that they don't want to have one God, but they have many gods. But eventually, under the power of the Lucifer, every religion would be unified. These are actually explored in the beginning. I'm not going to give you later on, but this basic principle evolved continually, time to time. 1787, and then 1800, 1820, 1830, 1850, 1870, and 1900, 1930. Their ideas continually elaborated and upgraded, some cases expanded in different areas. And still, the principles are maintained. So other plots, such as the French Revolution, they created. Because when they failed, the barbarian treason, and they really made key people, Lobisto, they funded the society members, and they provide weapons, and they created the violence, and they created all kind of ideology, and then they were succeeded. When they succeeded, they tried another war, the Waterloo warfare, and they succeeded it. And then when they also succeeded, they tried to also Italian unification. We call Giuseppe Mazzini. So the Savoy monarchy and others, they truly funded and make the unification movement. When they succeeded, they also funded the Albert Pike, the Civil War in the United States. And that's why Abraham Lincoln didn't want war, but they funded money to the United States. And then war broke out. And then not only they funded, they also funded to the Romanesque monarchy as anti-movements. So here, Napoleonic wars, Waterloo warfare there, Giuseppe Mazzini, Albert Pike, Rockefeller, and Robert Barons. All these are actually the great leader of this plan. Mostly the Giuseppe Mazzini and Rockefeller, these two are very important because it is the origin of the socialism when Giuseppe Mazzini began the revolutionary idea to train key leaders for, actually Bolshevik revolutions and some of cases actually different part of the world. This one is the Albert Pike, one who created the Civil War against Abraham Lincoln in the United States. And he is the father of the Luciferic Society in the United States. And he is the one who tried to formate and form the Luciferic, the one world government. Albert Pike says, this is his quote, "We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist." He said that Albert Pike in the United States. We shall unleash the nihilist. The nihilist means like, one who insists we are not nobody or nothing. So what we shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist. We shall provoke a great social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism. Let me say it again. Absolute atheism. I said the higher ranking is pantheism. Lower ranking is atheism. They want to promote the atheism. So effective absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. They want to create non-Christian governments first. Non-Christian government in Russia, non-Christian government in France, non-Christian government in the United States. That's why they were succeeded in France. Because France abandoned Christianity. And Russia, they abandoned Christianity. The same thing they did in the United States. So when Albert Pike said, let me read one more, but this is very important for you. Then everywhere the people will be forced to defend themselves against the world minority of the world revolutionaries, and will exterminate those destroyers of the civilization and multitudes disillusioned with Christianity, whose spirit will be from that moment without directions and leadership and answers for an ideal, but without knowledge, where to send its adoration, we receive true light through the universal manifestation of pure doctrine of Lucifer. This is it. Pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public. Their purpose is, whatever you do, eventually you don't know, because this is the very cryptocracy. This is the unseen government. This is shadow government, and we are not sure who are in controlling. But at the end, and finally everything is done, and you will see that in front line and key leader is Lucifer worshiper. He'll be worshipped as God, and his name will be exalted as the position of the Lucifer, and then he'll be seen in the public view. A manifestation will result from the general reactionary movements which will follow the destruction of the Christianity. Because the coming of the Luciferian age is to destroy the entire Christian world. And then secondly, low one, atheism, because Lucifer is God. And both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So when you need it, you are allowed as atheist. But when you are worshipped as the Antichrist, you are no longer as atheist, because you have to worship me when Antichrist will say. So it's tentatively they are being used. Ideologies. Communism was created. Zionism was created. Skull and Bones Brotherhood of Death in Yale College was created. And one of the advocates we call the Madame, the Helena Blavatsky. And also I told you in my lecture before, the one who created the cult, and also so-called theosophy. Theosophy, that she created the occult theology, the Alice Bailey. I told you in the former previous lecture, Adolf Hitler, Aleister Crowley, Manly Hall, Bohemian Grove. This is not a name, this is a society, the secret society. Political society, mostly Republican key leaders. But sometimes, like Bill Clinton, even though he's not a Republican, he's a Democratic, he was a member of that. But some Democratic leaders also together, and they worshiping Molech. So the Molech, that's, as I told you, the Molech, and they worshiping also the Molech at the same time giving infant sacrifice. They have symbol of the owl. So the occultism and New Age movements working together. So who will be actually having the power to manipulate and also the administrative power to execute? They call it steering the New World Order. Roundtable groups they have. The Loyal Institute of International Affairs, we call the RIIA in England. It's a very powerhouse. It's a very similar to the CFR in the United States. And the Council on Foreign Relations. Bilderberg Councils. The Bilderberg Council is actually the name of the little city in the Netherlands, when the key leaders from Britain, United States, and Germany, Spain, France, very key leaders in Crown House, and then some key leaders coming together and staying in the Bilderberg Hotel. And then, no agenda at all exposed, no any kind of activity was known. They have never had any kind of media conference, and they have any kind of access, to announce what they do. But in fact, they have all key agenda discussed, like climate changes, the UN agenda. Some cases like the IMF, World Bank issues. Some cases like the UNESCO issues. They have some kind of discussion on the global top things, but no one knows. They are called the Bilderbergers. The name of the Bilderberg city, the hotel in Netherlands. But this is a very important Bilderberg Council. And the Club of Rome, this is the very think tank in connection to the powerhouse in Vatican. So they're mostly working together with the religious power in the Catholic Church in Rome. So they call it Club of Rome. Mostly they have the Research Institute power. And they have the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is a very important powerhouse too. Because if you have like Bohemian Grove, the political power, and then you need the business and the material and financial power in the Trilateral. And they are working together is CFR and Bohemian Grove and Trilateral are working together. So the Bohemian Grove is political part, and the Trilateral is more likely business and financial part. And if you want to work together in other part, always working together. So the method of the New World Order, mostly think tank power, research power, we call Tavistock Institute. I told you in my previous lecture, so some of you know that what I expressed. And the media control is very important. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, and the newspaper and television, and some cases also the portal sites like Yahoo, and in some cases social media like the Facebook, and some cases, if the more likely the film industries, the entertainment industries, and some cases more likely also the official the media research institute. So the media control came out of the New World Order designer. And they have the oil control power. The Standard Oils, Watsons, and Exxons, Dutch Shell, and all these belong to Rockefeller or otherwise the like. And they created war and designed wars. Mostly Third World War. United Nations. So this is the United Nations prayer room. And I want to show this picture on the right hand. We call multi-faith prayer room. The God of Islam is there, Muhammad and Allah. And there are all fantasists. There are occult religion there, Buddhism there. But one thing is excluded, the Jesus Christ. So here they say, that, let me read it. This is a prayer. This is a prayer. They made it actually the International Day of Prayer Peace, the invitation, pray, dear sisters and brothers, from United Nations, UN, what the Rockefeller Foundation funded. With the blessings of our beloved Master. Who is the Master? I'm going to tell you later. All sisters and brothers throughout the world are invited to join in making special efforts on Friday, 21 September 2012, to pray at 9 p.m. the universal prayer. They created the universal prayer. They are not allowed in the name of Jesus. They are not allowed in the name of the Bible. They are not allowed the Yeshua HaMashiach Holy Solemn Prayer, intercessor. But they are allowed all the name of different gods and goddesses and religious power. All the different faith. They call it universal prayer. And this day has been designated by the United Nations as International Day of Peace. Our mission is contribution to the complements the UN Charter. And more comes in the form of our beloved Babuji Maharaj's suggestion, the Islamic Imam, expressed in his letter to the United Nations on 8 July 1957. So Islam is included, Buddhism is included, and all different religions included, but only one exception, evangelical didn't participate in this universal prayer. On the right hand, you can see that all the faith, multi-faith, written in the stone. But this is one of the seductions from the power of the Luciferian authority. Brethren, they have also the political groups. Political groups like Council on Foreign Relations. This one is the powerhouse to United States politics. If you want to see the next president, you have to look at the CFR. You will see who they are going to be. And the Trilateral Commission. And the Bilderbergs. And then another one is Roundtable Group. Roundtable Group is mostly more like global things. Roundtable Group is actually created in the United Nations. These are broad. So the political group, now Roundtable Group. So number one is Royal Institute of International Affairs. We call it Chatham House. Actually, one of the very Luciferian idea man, Cecil Rhodes, created in 1906. And this is a very powerhouse in the United Kingdom. And also another one is the United Nations. UN was created by this roundtable group. And the United Development Program. I said Sustainable Development Program. I accept that a lot, The population program, GMO, chemtrail, all those. And then the more recent one is ID 2020. These are the one always created by the United Nations program. And then World Health Organization. This created by the Roundtable Group. Foundations. They have money power to fund and support. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Open Society Foundation by George Soros. And Rockefeller Foundation. And the Carnegie Endowment for the International Peace. This is actually one world religion is supported by this system. So can't you see that? Money was deeply connected. And the UN-linked banks, what are they? Of course, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and Bank of International Settlement. Someone say Bank for International Settlement. Either one, there is no wrong. So whether if you say the BIS as the Bank of International Settlement, or Bank for the International Settlement, both working. And European Union. It's actually created the Euro. And then European Council, like the CFR in the United States. In Europe, they have European Council. And the Council of the Ministers. These are the one actually UN-linked banks working together. So it's not the head of the nation. Can you see that? Money control the heads. The money control the president. Money control the premiers. Money control the kings. The money control the nations. Whole world system now. We are already belonging into the new world system, brethren. And they have think tanks. Tavistock Institute. I think the Tavistock Institute is in my box, as I introduced. Club of Rome. In Vatican, they investigate how we collaborate between the Vatican and the New World Order. And the Brookings Institutes. This is more likely the political and the strategic center for the study of the global movements. Aspen Institutes. This is also very important in the beginning. And Institute of Strategic Studies. And European Council on Foreign Relations. And there are others, so spiritual secret societies. The number one is Freemasonry and the Illuminati in the beginning. But I can say probably 50, 60, 100 listing up. But I'm not going to say all because it's not going to be enough to say them. But the key society are to be mentioned here. Skull and Bones, Knights of Malta, Jesuit, Society of Jesus, Order of the Garter. The Order of Garter is a key leader, like including King and Queen of England. Very key leaders in the Society of the Royal House. And the Collegiate Paternories. And the Alpha Phi Omega, another one, Phi Beta Kappa. So either one you say. This one is also very key, 13 key leaders belonging to this, top of the top leaders in the whole world. And the Bohemian groups. These are the very powerful ones. And underneath there are others. So I just named this. They are very spiritual. Spiritual. They use occult, New Age movements, pantheon theology. They use also supernatural power. And that is the reason that many of them religiously submissive to the Lucifer. Religious groups, also the Parliament World Churches, funded by the Carnegie Foundations, World Peace Movements, and then, One World Religion movements, and WCC, an alliance of the world civilization between Islam and Christianity, and United Religions Initiative. This is also UN funded, mostly Rockefeller Foundation funded these movements. So let me read this comprehensive declaration about New World Order. I began my lecture from the definition of the New World Order. If I want to conglomerate all of those definitions together, I can say here, the New World Order is not so much a single plot as a way of reading history. At its most basic level, a cabal working in secret as well as through the official seeming and above ground means seeks to establish an all-powerful, possibly Luciferian, one-world government, suspicious surrounding the shadow established date back at least to the 1700s. New World Order is not a new idea. It's a very old concept. With the birth of the Freemasons and Illuminati in the 1700s. But it was the first century's global wars, political realignments, and media innovations that gave new purchase to this age-old paranoia. Actually, before creation of television, they mentioned about screen. Before they created like the sexual industry, they create about sexual industry. Before they create about the art industry, they create about the visual thing. Before we created also entertainment industry, they create about the entertainments in the heart of the humanity. I'm so alarmed. No one saw the television before, but they talk about. Why? They want to manipulate masses by screen, sports, and sex. Luciferian initiation. This is the report by one of the prominent authors. His name is David Spangler. Very famous author. His book is amazing. So I want to quote from his book. The title of his book is Luciferian Initiation. No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take Luciferian initiation. When you come into power of the Antichrist, you have to have your initiation. You have to make your bow unto the feet of the Lucifer, and who delegate by his power called the Antichrist. So dear brethren, global convergence is beginning. Not only for the movements in 21st phenomenon. We see all different kind of branches out of the one stem from this Luciferian initiation. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is like when you were born and people want to make the genius. They have like AI system in the brain. They put the DNA control. So in our body, the cell body, and so they call it transhumanism. So they actually distorted our DNA in our body. They sometimes interconnected chips in our brain into the satellites. And they also have created the largest economic collapse in order to create the greatest crisis into a new world order, into the final stage for the establishment. And so they created the like fake story, so-called alien invasion. Nowadays you have heard so many alien invasion. This is like fantasy, created lie, but they use to manipulate the people and masses. Gradualism, this is so-called Fabianist, like the Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister of the Great Britain. They are the Fabianists. They are leftists in United Kingdom. And they want to create World War III. This is their agenda in order to have the Luciferian society. They want to have the first capitalistic society. We are living in a very capitalistic society. The money matters, but they want to money is no longer when they create one world order, which is called their one world government. 2 Thessalonica chapter 2 verse 9 to 12. Brethren, the coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sort of display. Satan will use all sort of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. Satan used the lie. What kind of lie? Ideology, banking system, banking institution, governments, theology, theory, and the film industry, and fictions, philosophy, occult, New Age movements, in all area. One thing common, lie. It is not truth. It is not truth. Satan is going to use all kind of lie. He is going to display all sort of the lie through the power and signs and wonders. It is not my word from the Bible, according to Apostle Paul. And all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. A lot of people today refuse to believe in Christ. Why? Because they believe in the lie. And for this reason, God sent them a powerful delusion. Our eyes is actually derailed and deluded. Our eyes is deceived. And our mind is deceived by seeing the delusion. For this reason, God sent them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie. We believe in a lie. And so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in the wickedness. The people love the wickedness of Cabal networks, Luciferian worshiping, and all those things. You see United Nations, you see all those things, but you believe in the lie. But you don't come to the truth. Brethren, only one truth is Jesus Christ, who died in the cross in Calvary, is Savior and the Lord of all nations and people and race. There is no other way except the Lord Jesus come to the Father. There is no way to be saved except the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. There is no other God but the name of the Lord Jesus. And there is no salvation by any other religion but by Jesus Christ alone. Revelation 13, 8 to 10. All who dwell on the earth will worship the Antichrist. Everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, 3 to 4. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless apostasy comes first. The man of the loneliness, the Antichrist is revealed, the son of destruction. Antichrist is called son of destruction. His spirit is mass-minded New World Order, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God, object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. He will deceive you first time the secularism, atheism, pantheism, different religion, but at the end, he said, there is no other God, only me. So Antichrist will be the leader over one world government. His deception is called New World Order. Revelation 13:7. It was also given to him to make war with the saints and overcome them. Authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation was given to him. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for this beautiful time. And I think that I exceeded only 80 minutes and less than 90 minutes. And I'm very happy that I have kept my promises to you. And thank you so much for having me this amazing time. And I want to go more, but actually there are tons of things that I want to share. However, it's going to be taking many months. And so I just want to summarize, and then I hope that you understand. New World Order is an old concept by some of the wicked people who created spiritual, material, theological rebellion against God. So this is the one that I really want to share it with you tonight. So if anyone wants to give questions, and I want to receive the questions and then answer you. But before that, I think I received one of the important letter from one of the viewer in our networks, and he sent me an email. I think one of you are watching me right now. And he gave me a very comprehensive questions and in relation to the restoration of Israel and the Rothschild family and Rockefeller family and all those things. And I am thinking that probably next week and the other weeks I'm going to deal with those questions. And if you have any questions, then give me questions. Now, short definition clarification, I can do that. But the deeper and very deep discussions, if you may take, probably next time I'm going to deal with that. Thank you so much.